let's look at fair value gaps in the chart. And I specifically want to take you through this concept of fair value gaps as a proxy on order flow. Okay, I'm going to paint through the gaps and I'm going to talk you through my logic and what I'm seeing as we go. So first of all, we see this momentum. We can see prices moving bullishly. And this is that fair value gap pattern we were talking about. So in the case of this bullish instance, candle, well, if we even start right down here, you can look at candle 1's high, candle 3's low, and this big gap in the middle, we've got a bullish fair value gap. You know, the market's gapping up aggressively. So that's showing strong momentum, strong order flow, momentum from buyers, from the buy side. Okay, and what can you see here? We can see as the market pushed through this massive expansion, we did come down for that retest, and look how the gap was respected. One touch, the market zoomed off. Then what I'm paying attention to through this price action after this significant expansion here, we're not really gapping to the upside anymore. So there still is momentum as seen in the candles, but the lack of gaps is also giving me a signal. It's telling me that momentum may be slowing. Okay, we get to a peak here, get to a first peak, and what do we see? Okay, that's our last buy side gap. Now we see sellers, we see a pullback occurring, we see sellers coming into the market, but sellers aren't gapping. Okay, so at this stage, the seller momentum isn't strong or significant enough to create gaps. We see some buyer gaps coming back in here. Okay, we got that little one there. And this is where it gets interesting. Okay, then we see this push here. Okay, now this is our highest gap since our large push. Not much gapping up in here. So we had some buy pressure coming in here. We had some order flow driving the market up. But look what happened. So far, the buy side gaps respected. But then we get this big push through. Okay, and what do we get in that push? We get a sell side gap. Okay, so we can see how the buy side gap got disrespected. We got a sell side gap that formed. Right? But what happened after that? Okay, sell side gap came through, but we had a pretty quick inversion of the sell side gap. Okay, buyers stepped back in to push the market up. We can see the sell side gap was invalidated here. You know, we've got a small buy side gap here, right? But what happened? We reclaimed this gap, right? But we came into another peak. We got an SFP, and then we lost this gap. Okay, so the sellers took control again here. We lost our most recent fair value gap to the sell side, and not only did they take control, they did it with momentum. So this is that shift I'm talking about. So you can start to see this relationship between the gaps where we've got momentum, gaps respecting, market pushing away aggressively. We see slowing momentum because we're not seeing gapping occurring. We're not seeing the fair value gaps. We see some buy side order flow step in, but we're starting to see it lose its momentum again. The gaps are getting tested. The buy side, the highest buy side gap gets inverted with some sell side pressure coming through. Now we do get that bounce, ultimately leads to an SFP, and then we get a push from the sell side. So this strong push from the sell side inverted our buy side gap. So sellers took control, and they also started creating momentum of their own, read through this sell side gap. Okay, so then what happened? So we had push down, push back up, gap not even tested, sellers still in control, not seeing any buy side gaps here pushing into here. Okay, we've got sellers remaining in control here, pushing the market down. We have another big push here, but then what do we see? Okay, we see sellers push the market down, into a peak, or maybe a trough you might call it, but into the key low, and we see some buyers step in. We've got two signals of shifting momentum here, shifting order flow I call it, because we've got the inverted gap, the inverted sell side gap, we've got the buy side gap that's being created, so we've got new buy side order flow stepping in, and look how this buy side gap's being respected. Look at that, being respected, and we're getting a nice push away again with more gaps created, okay, until we get to this point up here. Okay, we have this push, push, push. We've got another, let's mark out this peak up here. So what do we see now? Sellers order flow shifted to the buy side. Buy side was pushing the market up. We see the gap being tested, but this was our sign of concern. We start to see these closes beyond the gap. Okay, so that was our sign of concern. So when this bounce happened, we can see that the bounce we're not really gapping in the bounce. We've got a tiny gap here, but that's not showing us strong momentum. And in fact, we just sweep this high. And what happens on the other side here when we sweep that high and sellers enter the market? We start to gap to the sell side. And you can see here straight away, sell side respected again. Push, push down. Okay, not gapping, not gapping. We start gapping here. Sell side pushing, order flow showing us that the sell side is still in control. Okay, we got these two gaps here, consecutive gaps, that pressure. Buyers step in, push the market up. We see them create some momentum. So we see some buy side order flow stepping in here. However, they fail to take out the most recent sell side order flow. They fail to invert this order flow. And in fact, even more sellers step into the market, creating even more sell side order flow. Okay. Now here we go. We've got a shift developing. So what do we see? We see this order flow signature coming into these lows. We've got another key low here. And as we're coming into these lows, we see sell side order flow coming in. We see buyers are stepping in, inverted the sellers, the sell side order flow, and we've got buy side order flow taking some control here. Look at that inversion, as well as new order flow coming in. Okay, and where do we go? We just keep tracking this over and over to see the story. You can see the story it's telling us in price. Okay, buyers push the market back up. We start inverting the sell side order flow. First inversion here. We got the reversal. We got momentum building, sell side order flow. We create a high. Buyers give us another momentum push with a gap into this high, but despite this order flow coming in, we failed to take out this high. We've got SFPs on the high, which is giving us a signal, a big signal that despite this order flow from this strong buy side momentum, we failed to take out the high. We've now inverted the order flow and pushed down. And we've also got sell side. Okay. So I hope you can start seeing the pattern here, right? You can see what I'm seeing, and I hope that this is painting the picture of this somewhat unique perspective I have when it comes to reading fair value gaps and using it as a proxy for order flow. Okay, so if we go back here and we just look at what's happening, we see the momentum, we see the respected fair value gaps showing that the buy side order flow is in control. we see as we come into peaks, we look for those signatures and we see inverted gaps start to occur, as well as sell side on the other side of the market, order flow coming in. We look into those troughs or those low peaks, and we see those signatures again. We see the peak, we see it being inverted, the order flow, and we see new order flow on the other side of the market. The buyers step in. Okay, so these are the signatures we see, the footprints we see through the gaps. Okay, so we'll just quickly keep tracing this out. So we've got another here. We've got the key low down here. What do we have? We have sellers push the market, fail to take out the key low. We get that SFP and we get new buyers stepping in here. Okay. We've got an inversion with this candle of this order flow, suggesting to us that the intent is to move higher. We've got new order flow on the buy side. Now, we see some concern here because we do get these closes on the low side. However, for now, the gap holds. So we keep reading the order flow. New gap, pushes higher, but the gap inverts and we get some sell side coming through. That's respected. Okay, we've got to respect the order flow. Comes back down. What are we seeing? Where's the sell side order flow? We see the gap here. And look at that. That is a picture perfect shift in order flow. Okay. Now, with this shift in order flow, respected here, but also new buy side order flow coming through, showing us that there's buyers there. There's demand pushing the market up. Order flow, disrespected but reclaimed. We see there's still gaps here. I won't paint them all out because I'm sure you get the picture now. Actually, I will paint them out so that you can see. It's a pretty good example here. You've got these smaller gaps. I'll paint out the bigger one here. And we start to see some momentum loss from this gap onwards. We're not really seeing much gapping up, shorter candles, shorter bodies in the candles. And we do get some sellers come in to push the market lower. Okay, and yes, they do invert the gap. They create a little bit of momentum here, but what do we see? Paint that gap all the way across. As they push down, give us a low. Attempt to push down again. We get the SFP. Now, what are we looking for? We're looking for that change of hands, okay, in the market. We're looking for those signatures where, okay, sellers stepped in again, attempting to push the market down, resulted in an SFP. We got the inverted gap confirmed here, and with that next candle, we also got new buy-side order flow coming through. We see it. I hope you guys can see it now. You see the patterns. You see the signatures in the price. This is how I read price action and I read order flow. I get my proxy order flow from reading fair value gaps. You guys are going to have to watch this video a few times so that you train your brain to start seeing this, seeing these patterns, seeing the gaps, and seeing the order flow, the shifts in markets.